Do you guys ever record an entire video, but because you stream and record on the exact same setup, maybe your voice modulator from your last stream session was still turned on? Because I did. Twitch.tv/Cody_Hansel. I stream Thursdays and Fridays. Boy, what an unfortunate way to plug this a second time, because I didn't have to plug it the unfortunate way a first time. I recorded this whole video once, and I had the effects on, and I was wondering why does the audio sound echoey? And I thought it was just because the video and the audio footage were echoing each other. No, it's because I still had Cathedral on, which makes me sound deeper and like I'm in space, or I guess in a cathedral. Whatever. Okay. Whatever. Boy howdy. Hi guys, I'm Cody Hansel. I'm recording this video for a second time if I haven't already mentioned that. And it's on TECHS, the show that just came out the other day. Fantastic show. Absolutely love it. The visuals are ridiculously good. The story seems like it could go somewhere. Maybe. I don't know. We're still in the early patches of it. The voice acting started out a little rough in the beginning, but eventually got pretty good. And the music. Oh my god. The music is fantastic. So, let's hit on all these points real quick, starting with the story. The story is basically a mix between, like, Danny Phantom and Men in Black, where you have our characters, Miko and Five. They are members of TECHS, or they joined the TECHS after the first episode. What the TECHS do is they find these glitches that come out of video game consoles, or phones, or any kind of technology that's provided by Hinobi Corp, which is basically like Super Nintendo, and not like the console Super Nintendo, but like Nintendo, but on a grander scale. What Nintendo could be if they didn't lag behind on everything. I don't know why I'm throwing shots at Nintendo. They're still my favorite game company. But they're basically like Nintendo, just completely cracked out. They run the market on technology in this world. And TECHS have to find the glitches that come out of this technology. And think of everything back to the Danny Phantom thing, where all of the consoles and all the technology are kind of like Fenton portals, where they come out of the portal, they escape, they manifest somewhere in the real world, and these TECHS have to go deal with it. They have to go defeat the glitch, capture it in its weakened state, and put it back where it came from, or repair the console and then store it on a database where it can be held safely in some kind of confinement. Very Danny Phantom-esque. They also have to wipe the memories of everybody around who see the glitches and are affected by the glitches, because if they don't, Hinobi's secret's gonna get out. So they got a Men in Black wipe their memories and reset them, as they call it in the show, and send them back to a state where they don't remember what happened. Their brain just kind of fills in the gaps. Very, again, Men in Blackish. Pretty understandable basis, but altogether comes out to be a pretty easy way to get the show going and establish our world. The other element of our world is that gaming is much more positively seen. The gaming community in this world is where all the TECHS come from. They hold tournaments, big battle royales, very Fortnite-esque, and the winner gets to become a TECH, unbeknownst to the competitors at the time, as well as anybody else in the audience, anyone around the world, except for, other TECHS, obviously. And there were special circumstances for our main characters, Miko and Five. And the way they get tied in to the whole TECHS things is a little unique. But they do become TECHS, and they become fairly good ones from what we seem to see in the show. All that being said, story, pretty solid. And our characters are also pretty solid. I'm really happy with Miko and Five. Miko is this really jittery, hyperactive, very skilled person with very solid understandings of like game mechanics. They use the term gamer logic a couple times in the show. Because, yeah, they apply gamer logic to how they defeat their foes. And because all the glitches are following the patterns that were established in their games, which they do a very good job of making multiple references in this show, they're able to get us to understand it as well and relate to the characters that way. Miko being like a high tier, super solid gamer, and Five, who is also a high tier, super solid gamer, is more adept at planning, strategy, making all these ideas and executing on them. He is less, I was gonna say he was less good at physically pulling these things off, but not really. Both him and Miko do some really superhuman stuff, which could be attributed to the glitch tech stuff, but then there are parts of episodes when they're not wearing their glitch tech gear, which is what enables them to use their powers and everything, and they're still able to do some pretty superhuman things. Whatever, it's a kid's show, it's animated, whatever, we'll pass that up. But yeah, they're both really good glitch techs. Surprise, surprise, are our main characters. And all the supporting cast is really solid as well. You got Mitch, which is kind of like they use the phrase frenemy, anti-hero type character who's only in it for the fame and the glory. He doesn't really want to focus on saving people. He just cares about upping himself. You have all of our side characters who we see a couple times. My favorite one's probably Zara. She's super dope. She's so cool. Hanish is super great. There's a lot of solid characters in this show. Phil is pretty funny. Bit's hilarious. Yeah, all these characters are really, really solid, which ties into their acting, or their actors, their voice actors. And how do they do? Well, in the beginning, like with many shows, it's a little rough. It's kind of hard to hear them say some of the more, let's say, dated gamer lingo. I can't count on both hands how many times, in 10 episodes, mind you, how many times they say, come at me, bro, which, excuse me? Are we back in 2012? Because let me tell you, every time someone says, come at me, bro, I feel like we're getting that much closer to the apocalypse. That phrase in particular never really feels natural, but the other phrases do start to get a little bit more tolerable as the show goes on. For example, fragum, they say that quite a bit. They say it so much that it kind of feels just like a term only the glitch techs use whenever they're trying to take care of enemies, or I guess what gamers say when they're playing games. But it always feels pretty natural now whenever they say frag or de-res and all that good stuff. So later on in the series, it all feels more natural. Like with many shows, as the show's lingo continues to carry on, as a viewer, we're more accepting of it, and the voice actors are more used to saying it, so it feels more natural. All in all, the voice acting, a really good job, and they feel like they have everybody in the show figured out pretty well for who their actors are. The casting in it seems pretty solid, pretty straightforward. And there's no character I really despise. Mitch is the one you're supposed to hate, but even his level of like cocky, selfish, just jerk nonsense, they play it off in a way that's really funny and entertaining quite a bit of the time. So even him, he's just like, yeah, all right. I don't hate him. I think the only character I don't like is Inspector number 7. What was her name? What is her name? Nancy, I think was her name. I didn't like Nancy too much, but whatever. She's just there as a plot element for one of the episodes, so whatever. She's on the B plot, so she's fine. Let's talk now about music. The music is so good. From the perspective of someone who loves chiptune music, so solid. Absolutely fantastic. Great work across the board. Frederick Weidman composed the music for Glitch Techs, and he did a fantastic job. All throughout it, you can feel influences and references to other games, so much to the point where he probably sampled little chunks of those to make the new soundtracks. Everything from Mario to Final Fantasy to Castlevania, which the Castlevania parody episode might be one of my favorites. They go so deep down the Castlevania rabbit hole, all the way to the point where the Dracula stand-in in that episode is almost quoting word for word lines from Sympathy of the Night. He says things that are just like 1 or 2 or 3 words off from lines that whenever you hear the beginning of them, you're like, oh, he's gonna do the what is a man thing. And he gets so close. and he just barely doesn't say it. But to anybody who has played Symphony of the Night or even knows the references or the meme that kind of came from it, is going to be like, oh, I get it. That's good. And that was me. A lot of the times when I caught these references, I was like, I get it. I get it. Yay. I understand. I got it. It comes back to the nostalgia thing that I don't feel nostalgia very often, but this show managed to trigger it for me a couple times where I would see like a Koopa reference to Mario and I was like, oh, I know that. I did that. That was me. As a kid, I did the same thing. I jumped onto Koopas. Yes, very good. Very good. And the creators of this show pay very good homage and respect to all of these gaming references, whether it be action, RPG, platforming, stealth. They do a very good job of having an episode focused just on these elements and going through with it. As much as I don't care for the genre myself, that's pretty hit and miss. The first episode being focused on like a battle royale style thing is probably pretty smart. Really popular with the kids, that style of gameplay, you know, Fortnite, Apex Legends. And the idea of the first episode having this battle royale element where they don't strictly say battle royale, but any youngsters watching will see it and be like, oh, last one surviving wins, like Fortnite, you know? Wow. They'll get that same kind of recognition that we get. And then as it goes on, this might just be the adult old-timer in me talking. 25 years old, old-timer. All right. Part of me hopes that they'll see that first bit, recognize it, and then as the rest of it goes on, they might independently look up the references that they're making, and then go out and try these older games that they're getting references of. They might be like, oh, what is Brave Exodus 7 or whatever it was called reference to? And it's like, oh, Final Fantasy, what's that? And they see it, and maybe they try it. And there's a lot of games like that in the show that I would like for them to reference. RTSs, fighting games. But I hope that this show motivates kids to get into. Should I get to the complainy part? Yeah, let's get to the complainy part. Because I already talked about all the really, really good stuff. You might notice that unlike other Netflix series, this one has a few weird editing choices in it. Like, for example, you'll see a shot, the characters will say something, and it'll cut to the shot before that shot, and that same shot again with the character saying something slightly different. It feels very commercial breaky, and that's because it is very commercial breaky. Because this show was supposed to air on just regular television. It was supposed to be your regular Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, SpongeBob, Steven Universe, you know, all those shows that just air on regular television with commercials in it. And these commercial breaks are still edited into the show because the show was not meant for Netflix, not in the first place. And that kind of comes in to where on the back end, the creator and the financial issue of this show comes from. Because this show looks expensive. You look at it and it's a pricey show. The animation, the movement, the amount of frames and visual effects that happen on this show, which are beautiful and fantastic and are just so glorious. So much of it looks so very expensive because it was very expensive. You look at another show that you could very easily compare it to, same network, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That show is expensive to make. That one already had money, still has money coming into it to this day. That's because it's established. The reason why there's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show every couple of years is because it gives them a new excuse to make and sell new toys, to make more and more money. That's what old established IPs do. All of them do it. That's why you still get those kind of things to this day. So they already had money to pull from to spend on the expensive look of that show. You don't get that same thing with new IPs. Steven Universe, Adventure Time, Gravity Falls. All of those shows don't have that same budget to pull from because they're a new IP. They don't know if they're going to succeed yet. So the companies, Cartoon Network, Disney, Nickelodeon, etc., aren't going to be putting a ton of money into it yet because they got to make sure the show is going to succeed first. Make sure they can profit off of it first. Glitch TECHS visually doesn't seem to have that same concern. And if you go do some independent research and you go look up just Glitch TECHS production or season 2, you're going to find a lot of maybes, a lot of not quites, a lot of worrisome stuff that we as an audience wouldn't see on the front end if we didn't know to look for it. Kind of from the beginning, if you were following Glitch TECHS at all, back a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whenever the first intro came out for Glitch TECHS and little footage started popping up here and there for the show, it was very quickly found out that it might be a bit of a worrisome IP because the show looks expensive, and that's because those 10 episodes that are out on Netflix right now are expensive. The show, to my knowledge, was cleared for 2 seasons. 2 20-episode seasons, I believe. That was back in 2016. What we see right now is one 10-episode season that most certainly was not made for the platform it's airing on. And I think that's because Nickelodeon felt that the showrunners are spending too much money on the episodes they had produced. There is an article here by the Cinemaholic, written by Prismi Tripathi, talking about when Glitch TECHS will come back and some of the production woes that came from the creators. I'll link that in the description below so you can read it for yourself, but just to sum it up, there was a point where they were working on the very beginning of season 2, I believe the 20-episode season 2, not the 10-episode Netflix season 2. And while they were working on that, Nickelodeon put everything on the back burner for that time because it was probably costing too much and they hadn't had any return on investment yet. They hadn't had any results. The show hadn't even aired yet. So only 10 episodes were completely finished and probably ready for TV at that point. I think that's why the show looks the way it does. Or I think that's why the show is in the state that it is now. Not made for Netflix. You go watch Hilda on Netflix. Fantastic show, by the way. There's none of that. It all feels like one concise episode because it's built for binging. This show was not built for binging. This show was built for television. That's the big difference here. We establish all that, and we look at the financial side of things, where, from what I understand, the creators of the show, the showrunners, spent too much of their budget, almost 2 seasons worth of budget, on the first 10 episodes. And when you put the logic into it, of how IPs work and how new IPs don't get the money that old IPs get, it makes a lot of sense. It becomes very obvious at that point. Those 10 episodes look as expensive as any episode of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they don't have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles money. They don't have 30, 40 years of just built up revenue to draw from. They have to start fresh. They have to prove that they can earn that kind of revenue. And the only way they can prove that is if we watch it. We have to watch this thing on Netflix to support it, to get to another season. Otherwise, what we're seeing here in this article might not come to pass. They seem to have potentially begun working on the second half of the season, the second half of season 1, or what on Netflix will be called season 2. Because Netflix has supported them, Netflix has brought that in, they're going to take that risk, that hit to their budget to see if the show will succeed. I think Netflix is very good at following trends on the internet, finding what people want, and are able to spend money places on those risks. Because face it, everybody here is paying $12.99 for Netflix. If I'm not, somebody that you're watching your Netflix account on is paying that $12.99 for Netflix. Don't lie to me. You know you do it. Your grandma's account, your friend's account, your cousin Eddie, who you don't really like, but hey, you know what? Eddie shared his password with you, so he can't be that bad. You know, we're going to forget what he talks about at Thanksgiving. Ignore that part. You're just using them for Netflix. I get it. I feel that. Everybody in my family uses me for my Netflix. That's the only reason why they ever text me. Cody, what's your Netflix password? It seems like it's changed. It hasn't changed. It's been the same password for 4 years. You're welcome, cuz. That's the only way the show's gonna get more seasons, is if we continue to watch it. Give the show a chance. Watch the first episode, 45 minutes of your time. It took me like 3.5 hours to watch the whole thing, and all 3.5 hours, I was extremely entertained. But you know, I'm a gamer. Why wouldn't I love something made for gamers? They're appealing to everything that I love, which they really are. Gaming, chiptune, Western animation. They're really hitting all the spots for me. I can't complain a lot about the show because the show just kind of hits me in every place that I'm weak to. I'm giving it like a solid 7 or 8 out of 10. I think it's got an 8 out of 10 on IMDb right now, so people are agreeing with me. And you'll be happy that you saw it. If anything, it's eye candy. If you do watch Glitch Checks, tell me your favorite thing about it in the description below, or tell me what you think I should talk about next. What show you want me to watch. If you put it in there and it's already in my queue, I'm just going to knock it to the front. I will always be talking about this kind of stuff on Twitter, so follow me over on Twitter. Again, I stream twitch.tv/Cody Hansel. And subscribe. Drop a like. Maybe turn on notifications if you think I'm worth that little bell going off once every week or so. All right, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Feel free to come back anytime. You know, I'm here 24/7. It's a YouTube video. It ain't going away. It ain't going away. It's going to be here forever. I'm not going to be here forever. I'm going to die someday. You know? I ain't got no extra lives. I ain't going to be around forever. So, you know, just remember that. You can be making my mortal life a lot better by liking and subscribing and notifying yourself of when videos come out. So just think about that. Alright? Okay. Bye!